Laura from Maui. And a reminder, we have a Q&A at the end. So jot your questions down, put them in the chat, and we get to those. All right. Let's get started. Hi, Bob. Hi, Robert. Hi, Heather. Hi, David. And Margie and Dion and Sandy. Hi, Sandy. You made it today. Very nice. Okay, here we are at the fifth and final session of Expanding Consciousness, reclaiming the sacred as the foundation of your life. I am Helmut, and I am here with my wife, Kay. And thank you again for joining us live. And just a reminder, as I was saying when we were closing out yesterday, with this series, we want to get the teachings out to more people and make them more accessible. But this is also an invitation to our new program called The Call of Your Song. And when you go to our website at katase.com, there's a menu item at the top that's called Programs. When you click on that, you can find out a lot more about that program. Again, it's called The Call of Your Song. And we'd love to have you in that and guide you much deeper into all of what Kay has been sharing here the last 5-6 days. Okay, the teachings Kay shared with you are just, I'm getting a little confused there. Give me a second. All right. We are really excited about this series. The sessions were pretty incredible. And the teachings Kay shared with you are just so remarkably beautiful and powerful at the same time. We're getting some great feedback, and thank you for that. So happy you are enjoying this format of sharing so much. There's much more to come that we will be offering in the future going forward. We plan to do a lot more with this about the teachings, but also about our healing work. And we'll let you know when that's coming. In this session, Kay will talk about the difference between raising consciousness and expanding consciousness. That's what we are headed for in this new era, the opportunity to gain expanded consciousness. And Kay will share with you what that looks like and how we can get there and why we really, really want to get there. If you want to learn more about the ancient healing teachings, again, you can go to our website at katase.com. So here's Kay with the fifth session of Expanding Consciousness, which is all about expanding consciousness. Enjoy.
Well, this is raising and expanding consciousness. So first questions is, what is consciousness? How can we expand or raise something if we don't have any idea what it actually is? A lot of people talk about it. Very popular subject these days. So what is it? In modern philosophy, academia, scholars, they say it's awareness, perception, responsiveness. And Katase adds to that it is perspective and focusing ability and change. And Katase says that your consciousness is your song. It is your song. It's your aliveness. It's what creates your song's sense of selfness. All consciousness is alive and growing and evolving. All consciousness. And everything's alive. Everything has consciousness. The ancient pre-dynastic Egyptians of 10,000 plus years ago described consciousness like this. In the nothingness, the emptiness, the deepest black, the void, there was consciousness, Kemp Oset. So consciousness has always been here. The field that lives like an ocean as it enfolds our connectedness is consciousness. And everything is constantly changing. Changing. Consciousness, aliveness, life experience, manifesting. Everything's changing. And here, the changes, they follow our intent, our human intent. They follow the conscious intent. They follow subconscious intent. Think about that for a second. We have two kinds of intent. It's not just one thing. Conscious intent, what we're aware of and we're purposefully, consciously intending, and subconscious intent. That's everything that's kind of under the surface and hidden in your subconscious that you're not really aware of. Hidden away in all those blind places, whatever it is we're holding there in our beliefs, fears, angers, blindly held pictures of ourselves and pictures of reality. Remember, these are blindly held pictures. We just take them on, make them up, and we believe in them desperately. Pictures about ourselves and pictures about reality, pictures about everybody else. All that stuff, that becomes our intent. They become the focusing mechanism of our attention for manifesting. And that means they will manifest. So if we believe our physical senses are going to dwindle as we get older, then we create that within ourselves and we make sure that it happens. If we believe that human physical senses are weak and untrustworthy, then we make sure that is how we experience them. Remember, we are creators. We have that ability to create these things, to manifest things. And if we aren't doing that in a purposeful manner, taking it over a driver's seat and running the show purposefully, choosing, then everything that's buried in our subconscious with all of those old masks and the programming and the fears and all that stuff, that's what gets to choose. That's what we end up manifesting. We've been doing that for 5,000 years at least. And getting more proficient at making that happen just that way. All consciousness All consciousness receives information and energies. That's just the nature of it. Consciousness in physical form needs some form of receptors. And for us, this is our 5 physical senses. They collect information for our consciousness to assess and process. This is how we find out what's in our environment. These are our tools for perception of 3D time space. We humans today have seriously weakened our 5 senses. We've managed to accomplish this amazing task through our lack of love in our lives and our culture, and through our fear-based perspective on life and the world, through our disconnectedness from our own selves, from everything else, through our constant mental distractions and interruptions, through our inability to concentrate and hold our focus, through actions at the expense of others, through our constant judging, through our insistence on believing lies and dogma, no matter how absurd, through our massive fears and angers and beliefs of our own inabilities, through our living in constant high stress mode. And as most people have heard, what we don't use atrophies. It weakens like a muscle. What we don't use, it's going to atrophy. It's just going to get all floppy, disintegrate. And we don't pay attention to our senses. This is a cultural thing. This is how we're raised. We're just not paying very much attention to our senses. We tend to ignore them. We're literally afraid of them. So we end up losing them. They atrophy. We humans in our modern culture also have atrophied spirit senses. That's a whole nother category of perception, a whole nother piece of ourselves. This is part of the spiritualness of our being. We have physical, we have mental, we have emotional, we have spiritual. This is a very big part of our non-linear aspect. Spirit senses. Most people have never heard of such a thing or even dreamt of such a thing, but we've got them. The senses of the spirit are the spiritual attributes of who and what we are. These are senses that are natural to the human species, like psychic abilities, such as telepathy, instant knowing, remote viewing, ESP, spirit journeying, clairvoyance, clairaudience, precognition, sensing gravity changes. We see this in animals. Some animals, they can sense the change in gravity. They can sense the things like electrical phenomena. We should be still doing that as humans, but we haven't been. We just ignore all that stuff. It's nonlinear. We tend to think that all that stuff is fairy tales, nonsense. We should be doing things like sensing magnetic phenomena. But we've shut it down. We have shut these spirit aspects of our own being, shut them down. As I've been saying in all these sessions, our consciousness is awareness, it's perception. It's all about perceiving stuff, anything, whatever's there on all levels. And our 5 physical senses and our spirit senses are how we perceive, how we receive information from our environment. It's part of our communication, our interactions with what is there. It's a very big piece of who and what we are. When we diminish our senses, we diminish our consciousness. Think about that for a second. Feel it. Just feel that. We have all these senses, spirit senses, all the psychic woo-woo stuff. We have physical senses. We're supposed to be having incoming information from the environment, incoming. We're supposed to be paying attention to it and perceiving it and knowing what it does, what that means, what it all means, what we should do about it. We've been turning these things off, ignoring them, not paying attention to them, demeaning them, doing things to literally physically make it more difficult to actually have physical and spirit senses. We've diminished our senses. And in the process, we have diminished our consciousness. There's some popular things in some corners of woo-woo land, spiritual teachings, that talk about things like telepathy, the psychic stuff, the spiritual senses, as being a distraction. That it's getting in the way of true enlightenment. Nothing could be further from the truth. This is another example of how organized religion has literally been teaching things that turn us in the wrong direction, give us the wrong kind of information and the wrong kind of tasks. We end up with beliefs and behaviors that are killing ourselves. We're diminishing our consciousness, crippling our own consciousness. In order to help grasp the potential of our consciousness, I'd like to tell you how some of these ancient pre-dynastic Egyptians did their perceiving, how they used their consciousness. It's said that they used 360 senses. You heard me right. They used all 360 senses that are inherent in all Earth humans. Even today, it's inherent. We still have it. It's in our blueprint. We still have it. It's their ancient belief that we have these 360 inherent senses. For us moderns, they're dormant, they're atrophied. It is our spirit senses, our inherent abilities. That is what awakening is all about. And they knew that. The ancients knew that. Pre-dynastic, we're talking 10,000 years at least ago. The culture that was there. This is the knowledge that I was taught. It comes from that time and those people. And there are other places on the planet that are still holding the same teachings, came from the same place. When we talk about, we hear all this stuff about awakening, waking up, and becoming enlightened. In the original teachings, in these really ancient times, that meant utilizing all of your inherent spirit abilities, spirit senses, and the physical senses. There is a tradition of helping one gain those spirit senses through the physical senses. It's part of what I was taught in the Peruvian Katasi tradition. Getting your physical senses back up to speed and letting them take you, carry you into the non-linear, into this extended, expanded spirit senses. They can teach you things that we can't put to words. Absolutely unbelievable. As we begin to wake up our senses, we're actually waking up our consciousness. We are raising our consciousness, raising it out of the dark, ugly, debilitating pit that it was in, and bringing it back up to the activity level and awareness level that it should be at. This is raising consciousness. It's getting what we've lost back, recovering it, rediscovering it. Love expands our consciousness. Realizing unconditional love is in everything. And that's part of what consciousness is unconditional love. Love changes our perspective, and it helps us distinguish between real and cultural make-believe. Love leads us to forgiveness, forgiving ourselves, forgiving others. Love helps us wake up, helps us reclaim our consciousness. And being honest with ourselves and cleaning out our old habitual stash of blindly accepted beliefs. The beliefs that are complete with all the dogma and all the emotions that go with them. Step by step, cleaning them out, letting them go. Cleaning them out of your mind and your body, your emotions and your whole spirit. And really just letting them go. Each step in this direction heals our consciousness, and it heals all of our senses. The Whitaker said that the ancients described this task of waking up as a journey, an adventure, the great adventure. It's a journey along a spiral path, going from the outside towards the center. The center is the place of awakeness and clarity. So we're starting at the outside of the spiral, and we just keep making one more step towards the center, towards this incredible clarity and song awakeness at the center. And there's influences and challenges along the way to learn from as we go around and around. And there are gifts along the way to help you succeed. We go through the south and the west and the north and the east. We go round and round and over and over, round and closer to the center. As we do that, as we take the steps on this journey, our consciousness is rising out of the darkness. Rising out of the darkness as we go. We're letting go of all the old obstacles with each step. We're experiencing our song deeper, fuller with every step. We're finding out our real truth. The truth of who and what we are. What we always have been, what we are now. And that identity, that who we are. We've been lying to ourselves, taught how to do that, identifying with all those blind beliefs and all the masks and all the lies and all the culture junk and the fear. We identify with all that. Think that that's who we are and what the world is has nothing to do with reality. Well, we believe it very strongly. A lot of dogma, huge, intense, emotional charge to all of that. And we're very addicted to that. But as we go on this journey, step by step, we're letting that go. We're letting the addiction go. As we march on, all these things, they're no longer just ideas. They're no longer somebody's spiritual idea or spiritual task. We've gained real knowingness and understanding. That's the goal. Gain real knowingness and understanding comes only from the experience. You have to experience all of this to gain the full knowingness and the full understanding. It's not a linear thing. It's non-linear. And it's huge. And then finally, we arrive at the center. We succeeded. We are being our song. We have clarity. Our senses are improving. Our consciousness is out of the muck. We've made it. And just about the time we're ready to seriously congratulate ourselves, we look up. And there's another whole realm unknown to us before, undreamt of before. Another whole realm up the tree. This is where the expanding of our consciousness takes hold. This is us. This is our future. What is coming goes beyond what we can dream just yet. But This is us. This is our potential. This has to do with who and what we really, really, really are and what our consciousness actually is. And all of this, the journey, the adventure, the tree, it's our choice. It is always our choice. It's our steps, one step at a time, one dream at a time. That's what builds who and what we will be, one dream at a time. That's what builds our world. One dream at a time, one step at a time. It's your choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. Beautiful again. A couple of things today before we go into the Q&A. Kay talked a lot about our senses today. It just so happens that she wrote a book about it. It's called Sacred Link, Joining Fortunes with the Unknown. And you can find it and get it on Amazon. Beautiful book. And again, if you have questions, put them in the chat. We get to them here real quickly. And if you want to join us on this adventure and go much deeper with all of what you have learned in this last 4 sessions and today, the program we invite you to is called The Call of Your Song. And you can find more information on our website in our program section. And I'm also posting a link to more information. All right. Any questions for today? You're welcome, Stephanie. And says Kaya, you're welcome too. I have a couple of questions. What happens when subconscious and conscious beliefs conflict? Who wins and how and why? Great question.
It's a very good question. Well, it just so happens that that's how we live our daily lives in our culture. Most of us are pretty much asleep or very asleep. And we've got lots and lots of subconscious beliefs that we've been collecting from all sorts of different places. Many of those conflict with each other, some of them 180 degrees from each other, complete opposites. And many of the beliefs that we hold deep inside, and many of the feelings like fears and angers and resentment and all that awful, nasty stuff. Many of those things, they conflict with what we like to think on a conscious level, or what we like to believe about ourselves on a conscious level. And we see the outcome. You see it all the time, every day, wherever you look, it's out there. And it makes scrambled eggs out of us, out of our insides. We're in conflict, deep conflict. and it scatters our attention. Like the circle that she drew for me that I told you about a couple of sessions ago. Circle in the sand with all the lines coming out and the boxes on the end. A lot of those boxes conflicting with each other and conflicting with the thoughts and desires that are conscious in the moment. And who wins? Well, that depends on the instance, the individual things, moments, the contemplations, the desires of whatever we're doing, how we're trying to plan it out. In all those moments, the stuff bubbles up, the conflicts come up, and it creates a lot of stress. And we can't even identify where that stress comes from. We're having stress that comes from all sorts of places, all from the outside of us, from the inside of us, from the mental, emotional, spiritual levels. And this can be a real big stress sometimes. Especially when they're about things that one might believe is really, really important. Do I believe in God? One thing says yes, the other thing says no. Do I want to live this kind of a married life or not? One part says yes, the other part says no. Lots of stress, lots of conflict and arguing with yourself. And it's really difficult to see where all these different feelings and ideas are even coming from. But we have collected them inside of ourselves. They used to be external, now we internalize them, and we just keep the same old dogs barking and biting. I hope that helps.
Asta, beautiful and mind-blowing. What's ahead up the tree? Yes. Thank you, Kay, for those beautiful teachings. Love and song. Karina has a question. What about...
Do I answer Asta's first?
Oh. Yes.
All right. I will do that. Asta, what's up the tree? It's hard to describe what's up the tree to somebody who hasn't started walking on the spiral or is somewhere in the middle of the spiral, hasn't gotten to the center yet, and hasn't looked up the tree. So we might think that some of these 360 senses, if we want to look at the world with that model, that picture, that some of those are up the tree. And we know the easy ones. The first things that are, spiritual, woo-woo, non-linear, telepathy, psychic stuff, ESP, remote viewing, all this, those sorts of things. We're familiar with those. And that's easy to see when you get to the center. That's easy to tell that those things are there, like the lower branches. Those are on the lower branches. So keep looking for the tree, look up the tree, and see what you can see. You will be able to perceive that. When you get to that center place, you will be able to perceive. And it's mind-boggling. There are no ways to really describe it all. But that's what Damana used to say. That's when the real adventure begins. When you get to the center and now you get to go up the tree. He said, that's when the real adventure begins. I have to concur. Okay. I hope that answers.
Asta, we'll be looking up. Thank you, Kay. We'll meet you there. Karina, what about a connection with elements? Let's say fire. So you know of that being possible?
Yes, indeed. Connection with the elements, deep, intimate adventures in the world of the different elements. Learning how to bring them inside you, to use them in healings. This is part of both the Egyptian tradition and the Katasi tradition. Very intense teachings about the elements. And that is what we call level 5. And we have a whole healing arts series that we've been teaching for 30 years. It's been that long.
I'm not sure quite that long. For a while.
Getting close. So this is part of what was given to me, what was handed down to me from both traditions. And it's kind of hard to describe. It's another, I could talk a lot about elements and experiencing them, using them. But that is linear. Talking about things is linear. And those use of words, words aren't big enough. They're two-dimensional. You're trying to use something two-dimensional to describe things that are multi-dimensional. Multi-dimensional. But these are real. These things are real, and this is part of what we teach. It's pretty fantastic. I hope that answers.
Maybe as an add-on, there's like SK said, there's an entire class that's all about the elements with very powerful teachings and initiations into the elements and our connections to them and how to use them in the healing work effectively. Would you say, Kay?
Very well described.
Oh, you're muted. Mm-hmm. I hope this answers your question, Karina. Saskaya, what has been the point of this? What has been the point of these last 5,000 years or so of linear masculine focused thinking? What has been the point of losing ourselves, lying to ourselves all this time, if we once had it all?
It is taught by the Whitakers and the Egyptians that we choose to come into this physical life as a human being on this planet. And we choose each lifetime This planet is not a prison planet. It's not a punishment place. It's not a have-to place. We have the choice. It is our choice, always. And we choose to come here, to be here. We, as entities, as a song that is so ancient and so vast, we've been to many places through many, many time periods, doing many different kinds of things. And all of that becomes part of who and what we are, part of our song. We want to experience. The universe loves to experience. Lots of experience. The more diverse, the better. The more diverse everything is, the better. And we do see lots of diversity. Lots and lots. And so we have our own reasons on a much bigger perspective level of why we would choose to be here at such a time. From those bigger perspectives, we're outside of time and space. We're way outside of time and space. Has no influence on us when we're there. So we can choose any time period. We can choose any culture, any family, any genetics. We make the arrangements with the other people who would be providing to be our parents, to provide genetics, to provide the education, raising us, educating us about a particular culture, particular understandings and behaviors. And we've had a number of different big picture reasons for wanting to experience this dark age, 5,000 years or more of the dark age, going into the deepest, darkest, ugliest, nastiest losing of self stuff. The only way we're going to understand it, even as a spirit, is to experience it. That's what the ancients are saying. All over the planet, I hear the same thing. The only way to really understand something, to get that deep, thorough knowingness and understanding, is to experience it for yourself. So we come here and we have picked these cultures, subcultures, parents, ethnic groups, social groups, all siblings, best friends, all that stuff. We set the stage. We pick some major players and major events. The rest of it is absolutely free will in the middle of those parameters. And we play it out. We dance the dance. And we learn. We experience and we learn. Now, there's one thing that the Whitakers would say that might help give you an understanding. As an example, perhaps somebody wants to experience something like alcoholism, drug addiction. That is a huge subject, and it's probably going to take more than one lifetime to really understand all of its different aspects and possibilities. So we pick a stream of lifetimes, a bunch of different ones, different time periods, different kind of cultures, and at least one of them where a full-fledged alcoholic or drug addict, just stone, passed out most of the time, die of an early age, body falling apart, all that stuff, all the horrors that can go with a life like that. And then we pick another one where we sober up, we clean up halfway through the life and stay clean. We pick another one where we aren't such a heavy consumer, but we're still addicted, and we live a longer life, but we're consuming an addictive product, behaviors through that life. Now, another one, we're the spouse of the addict, we're the parent of the addict, we're the child of the addict. All these different possible lifetimes. Another one, we're a teetotaler, won't go anywhere near any substances. And we're learning different aspects of that whole phenomenon of substance addiction. And that same model fits for many other different types of things that we want to experience and learn about, or things that we want to help do on this planet. Sometimes one of the things that we want to do, our purpose in life, they always said it was a list. It's not a single item, it's a list of stuff. But we might have as an important item on the list to make a big difference in humanity, to help humanity in some way. Maybe by being an artist that inspires an awful lot of people, or some kind of a teacher, or a leader, or a religious, spiritual person that teaches a lot of people, helps a lot of people, makes a difference that way. That also is a giant issue, and it might involve a number of lifetimes coming down in different ways, variations, trying to make some kind of a difference in that way. So we're here to experience. Sometimes we're here to help, to give. But the biggest part of that, even in the giving of it, we're experiencing things. We're experiencing that kind of giving. So that's the bottom line. It's what it's about. It can be kind of hard to wrap your mind around it. And some people say, well, why would I pick a life like I had with the history that I had and the abuse and horrible? Why would I pick that? Why would anybody pick that? There's something about that issue, that kind of experience, that we needed to understand from the inside out. And it's going to make a huge difference someday, having that experience within their own song. It's hard to know what those things are from here, from this perspective here on Earth. But when you get into the bigger perspectives, then it starts to make a lot more sense. I hope that helps.
Laureen, once we are aware of a conflict between our subconscious and conscious beliefs, how do we start to resolve these conflicts?
In the teachings, it always goes back to knowing yourself. Know thyself. Know who you are and what you are. And the more you know about who you are and what you are, the more understandable everything is, the clearer it is to feel, to sense, to know what is a crock, big crock of shit, and what is more real, what is more true. As I've said in the previous sessions, all these things have a feeling to them. They have a signature. And the stuff in our subconscious that we stashed away, maybe that's the stuff that is untruth, the crock. it has a certain signature about it that just radiates out and screams, I'm a crock. I'm a bunch of junk. I'm not true. And things that are true, that has a different signature. And it's a cleaner, smoother signature. It sings with your own song. It feels harmonious, harmonic. As we learn our own song, we experience it more and more. We learn more about it. We understand it more. We can hold the feeling of it more without being distracted away into the junk pile. Then that gives us a whole different perspective. We're viewing ourselves in the world and all these kinds of issues and things from a different place, a whole new place. New perspective, bigger perspective. And the song, knowing your song, it's the bottom line. It's the beginning of everything. And the middle and the end. That's how we do it. I hope that helps.
Okay. You have more questions, post them in the chat. There's another question from Karina about if we know about element manipulation, for a lack of a better term. I have connected with fire before, that's why I asked. Thank you for touching on the subject. I really wish I could speak with you. Well, as we told you, as we share, as Kay shared, it's a big part of our healing work. And not sure I would call it manipulation, but how to work with elements and to an extent manipulate them.
They are alive and conscious as well. Each element is alive and conscious. And we interact with it as another living, conscious being. So it's not, manipulation is not the right word because it kind of implies forcing and a power over. And that nothing in these traditions has anything to do with forcing or power over. It's all about win, 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 and communication and negotiating, figuring out how you can work together, and it'll be a plus, a win for everybody. That's what we teach.
Well put. All right. We seem to be at the end of the questions. If anything comes up, we give it another minute to see if something else pops into the chat. And if not, we're going to close out. Beautiful, beautiful series, beautiful session again, Kay. Thank you. Kay and Helmut, this has been so helpful and clear, lucid. Thank you, Jeannie. Dion, thanks, Kay and Helmut. I appreciate you sharing your time and knowledge. Thank you. David, thank you. You guys are so great. Stephanie, my apology, Kay. So sorry I messed up on your name. No worries. Bob, thank you so much. Margie, love you both. Incredible 5 sessions. Yes, they were. Truly. So glad we put this together. And thank you again, Kay, for everything you put into this. Jen, thank you so much. I appreciate your work so much in these times. Lorna, thank you for sharing this with us. And Saskaya, thank you so much for these sessions these past days. I've really appreciated them. You're also very welcome, and thank you for joining us. It was very beautiful to connect. And it makes it a lot of fun to have you all live here.
It is a lot of fun. It feels great to feel you all there. All your energy and your thoughts and your love and your curiosity and your responses. It helps shape what gets taught, what gets spoken about. Because if you're thinking of it inside you, or you need to hear about it, or need answers about it, you may not even know that you do until it's spoken. I feel that the spirits show it to me and give me hints of what to say next. So thank you all for being part of this incredible series. It's been really fun and very beautiful, and such an incredible honor. It's such an incredible honor to be able to do this, to be able to give this to you. And our goal is to share it out, to give it out. So share it with people. Share it. We're going to be putting it on YouTube, so people will be able to access that. And as time allows, the transcripts will be available as well. So this is about sharing and cooperating and learning how to be together, live together, love together, build a world together in harmony, and lose all the deep pit stuff. Lose the crock. I'm going to make a bumper sticker and a t-shirt. Lose the crock.
No. Okay. Maureen, thank you both for your time and talents and time. You're welcome.
Very welcome.
And Stephanie, so much softness and bliss. Yes, there is. All right. I think that brings us to the end. Don't forget magnets. What about the magnets?
Oh, I should put lose the crock on magnets? I can do that.
Remember, if you want to learn more, check our website. Join us for the program. It's going to be quite the ride with ceremonies and initiations that leads you much, much deeper into all of this and experiencing it and learning and making it part of your life, of your daily life. So we really make a difference in the world and build a very different future.
Learning these things from experience is the real thing. That's what it's all about. Learning from the experience of it. And that's what our classes are all about. They're very experiential.
Very, very. Okay. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. You're all so beautiful.
Have fun. Love you.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Love you all. Bye bye.